What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there, wearing many hats and beanies. What's going on, Casino?
One would say it's madness. March Madness? No. That was fail. All right, well, welcome in, everybody.
Casino, this is the first time I've seen you since the wedding we both went to. How was the wedding on your end? Because I will tell you on my end, I got maybe top 3 most shit face I've ever got in my life.
I had a blast.
Really good for me.
I had a blast. Kind of made that anniversary trip since the wife and I's 1-year anniversary is here in April, beginning of April, and we don't have really time during that month. So yeah, we splurged. We stayed where we overlooked the ocean. It cost a lot of money, but it was nice. We had our own private balcony. Between the two of us, we ate, no joke, literally probably a slice shy of an entire cheesecake throughout the weekend. It was awesome. I did drink a lot at the wedding, but I didn't drink as much as you did. You were what I was when we were at our other friend's wedding. Was one of the most complete drunks I've ever been in my life. And it's because, open bar is great when you do like beer and wine, but when you do open bar and it's full liquor,
yeah,
and it's not like a limit. They didn't have a 2-hour limit or a 3-hour limit. No, it was 5 hours of open bar drinking.
I think I was doing the math in my head after. I think in that like 4-hour window, I want to say, I think I drank like 12 bourbon and cokes.
Dude, you're undermining yourself or underselling yourself. 12? No, it was 12 before you blacked out, buddy.
That's true. But I did not finish my last one. So
no, because the waitresses came and picked up all the drinks that were left on the table.
Yes. But no, I know my wife.
But you know what? You handled it very well. Even though you were completely blacked out drunk, you were not crazy. You weren't slurring. You weren't falling over. You were just, your light switch went off. I could see it in your eyes. You weren't there.
Yeah. I think only twice in my life have I blacked out from drinking. Both times have been around you. Do you remember the first time? You have a picture to remember this moment.
Oh, was it our buddy's bachelor party?
No, it was not.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it was at my house, at my backyard of my house.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And that one is excusable because I was
you were doing my little brother
like
solid.
19. We had to have been 19, 20.
We were of age. No, we were of age. No, I know this specifically because I didn't start drinking that heavily until I was of age or when I was in college. No, you're right. We were probably about 18, 19, 20. It was like when I first started college.
That was
before. Don't worry, we did it safe. We did it at my parents' residence in the backyard. It was all fine. Was that the night that they were there? Yeah, it was. I think
they were there. Yeah,
they were there. They were there that night. They had to break up a fight. That was great.
Yeah, they had to break up a fight. You have a picture of me laying in your bed, passed out with a man.
Well, one of our good friends from high school, Filipino, big bodybuilder kind of mentality. So he's like 3 times the size of Will, BJ. It says Will. I want to say
it doesn't matter.
BJ.
BJ Will. And it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he thought it'd be funny to strip down to his skivvies and spoon BJ while he was on the bed. But again,
and you know what? It was funny.
You did a solid because my little brother was too young to drink at that time. So if we were around there that age, he was like 13, 14, something like that. And he wanted to play beer pong with us. So BJ did all the drinking for him and they sucked. So yeah, that was a good time. Anyway, I had a blast.
Great wedding.
So
great wedding. Shout out to Keaton.
Also you already know now. To throw that out there, I had a good time because I was able to drink a lot because I had a designated DD, even though I still drove, but I was safe because I didn't get
Yeah,
like
no,
you shit
we
faced.
we
Um,
Ubered. Me and my wife both knew we were gonna get
yeah,
shit faced, so we
no,
were like,
the wife
"Fucking
cut me
Uber all
off at a
day."
certain point because she didn't want to have to drive my truck, and I understood, so we were good. Um, but yeah, the wife didn't drink, so I had to drink for 2, actually 3. I'm expecting again another child. Yay, because this is going to be so
Woo!
fantastic. Because the first one doesn't keep us up all night with and ruin the
Yeah,
podcast. So let's do 2.
exactly.
No,
And
but no,
my
it
child
was an absolute blast of a wedding. That was one of my favorite wedding trips in a long time. The only one better, like destination wedding, was our other buddies, Tom's, and that's
Oh, yeah.
because that's because I blacked out. Hawk, I'm sorry, you had a beautiful wedding as well. Leah, great, but no,
No. What is it?
Tom, and
As
Keaton's were
someone
the
who's
2 best.
had a wedding at this
And
point.
you wanna know what's funny? Tom and Keaton, the 2 people out of our group that have the most money, not much, but they have the most money between the entire group chat, had the 2 best, because they had open liquor bars.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, in our friend group, Tommy, Keaton, 1 and
Thank
2.
you.
I mean,
1 and 2.
going
We won't tell you which one's which.
no, but yeah, someone who's had a wedding, that shit's expensive and they fucking went all out. But yeah,
That
also
was
shout out
8
to
minutes
my
of
wife
wonderful
who
talking. I love it. It's great.
shout out to my wife who had to take care of drunk me. And by take care of drunk me, that means handling a vomit situation.
Oh, you did. You
Uh
ended up vomiting. Did you vomit
I
in the
did.
Uber or the
No,
Lyft?
I vomited in the front of the Airbnb and then in the sink of the Airbnb. And but that was it. And you know what? I vomited, which meant the next day I was pretty good. I was like fine the rest of the day. Yeah. So
Well, going on the other wedding that we got shit faced at together, um, that other wedding, we both puked on the drive home because it was a windy road. So you did the puking the second day on the last wedding,
yeah.
but that was
And I
prompted
don't
because
think
you know what that was because of me though because I started puking and then you got sick watching me puke.
but in both of our defenses, I don't think either of us would have puked if that road was literally not just like two 2.5 hours of literally just
It
winding
just
back and
S
forth.
curves,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, like that was the only reason I think either of us puked. If it was just a
Well,
normal
that no, that's
drive,
100% because that's what I told you. I mean, we were all the way
ugh,
good to that little town, and we got the lunch, and we were starting to feel better, and then I got sick on the windy part after. Anyway,
good
this
times,
is a
good
sports
times.
podcast, so hi
But 8
everybody.
minutes of wedding talk. I mean,
9
that's how you want to do it. Uh, but casino, not only was our
madness.
weekend madness, but so was the basketball. So we're gonna talk about March Madness. I've watched a good handful of the games. I think, is there a sport where the regular season matters less than college basketball?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, because you got to still make the tournament. You still have to make the tournament because there's a lot of good teams out there. That's why they have a secondary tournament, the NIT. There's a lot of teams that are right there on the bubble that can make it in. So the regular season does matter because you still have to win your conference tournament or you can get the at-large bid. But you saw it a lot in um, people had like teams had good records and then they don't get into either the NIT or the um, big tournament just because their strength of schedule. So yeah, I mean you could say regular season doesn't matter as much, but you still have to win your tournament to get in. You have to get the at-large bid to get in. But once it gets into the actual March Madness bracket, the official NCAA tournament, wild, wild. That's why winning a perfect bracket is absolutely almost impossible. And it was first day got knocked to under less than 1% of over two or like 22 million brackets filled out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Just off of
think
like ESPN, I think.
and at this point, there's like 0 brackets, right? Like it was like
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I don't think there's anybody left.
which is which is shocking, but it's also one of those things where it's like understandable because let's just go through the upsets, Casino. Who do you I mean, obviously the Purdue
the Purdue FDU. I
yes.
don't know how to say their name, like Dickinson something. They're a team out of New Jersey, which has got a cool actual like city name. It's Hackensack, New Jersey. I like that. I like
Damn,
Hackensack.
Hackensack, New Jersey.
Hackensack.
That rolls off the tongue.
That's fun. But yeah, no, shit, that was the best one, absolutely. So I guess to start that, before we'll roll into it, they had to play in because you had the first four. They upped the tournament from 64 to 68 teams a few years back, whatever it was. So there's 4 games playing games. So you're still made the tournament, but you have to do playing games. And they went against Texas Southern, and they crushed them, 84-61, obliterated them. And then, so with that, they roll into the first round matchup against Purdue, who I picked in my bracket. I picked to win the whole goddamn thing was Purdue. They're playing great, but yeah. It's only the second time in NCAA history where a 16 seed beats a number 1 seed, which is absolutely phenomenal for them. They did lose in the next round against FAU, but that's another team that I'm happy with. I think they're the last highest seed. No, Princeton. We'll get into Princeton, but they're a 9 seed. They're crushing it as well. But yeah. So, I mean, kind of how do you want to roll with this? Just keep going through all the upsets.
We can just jump around. There's no real.
So let's go with all the first round stuff first.
Game by game would be too much. So just do a general overview of it.
Well, I've picked out a few that I want to talk about. Obviously, Princeton. Princeton against Arizona in the first round. They won 59-55. Looked fantastic. And they just beat Missouri as well. And whoop, here it is. So this is the going into a 15 versus a 7 seed. This is Princeton beating Missouri is the first Ivy League over a SEC team since 1942. Jesus. So yeah, that's a pretty awesome win for them. So they still have to go, and they still have to. Who do they got next here? They got Creighton. We'll see. And Creighton's only a 6 seed, so we'll see if they can keep going and get themselves into an Elite 8 situation. An Elite situation, which they do play today. I have it pulled up literally right here because I didn't have that written down. All the scheduling. If you're interested, obviously we're going to try to put this out today. This podcast. Princeton does play tonight.
It will be out today.
6 p.m. Pacific time. That game. We start off with the team that I hope loses, SDSU against Alabama. And then you have Miami versus Houston and Xavier versus Texas.
You would rather root for San Diego State than Alabama?
No, I want Alabama. Well, I don't know. Dude, okay. I don't know. No, I don't know. I think I might go San Diego State this time just to represent the Mountain West because I don't like Alabama. Going into the next round, if it's Princeton or Creighton, yeah, I would obviously cheer for one of those two teams, but I don't like Alabama. All in all.
Yeah.
But speaking about Alabama, they're the number 1 overall seed. They're doing well, and they're showing why. Their first 2 games, they've won by over 20 points each. So they're cruising. They got SDSU today. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see what other fun ones.
Do you feel like it's hard to root for Princeton because technically they're the lowest seed left, but it's like an Ivy school or an Ivy League school? You know, it's like Princeton. It's like
no, I don't care. I want to see them go all the way. I want to see a 15 seed win the national tournament, which would be absolutely mind blowing. It would destroy the tournament, and I would kind of be happy about that. That would be fun. So as I
Yeah,
was
but
saying,
Creighton's look pretty good. I
they
think
have.
I don't know if Princeton, but then again, Princeton, like you said, beat Arizona and Missouri. I don't know, but then
Yeah, I
again, I
mean,
don't know. There's just
Creighton's
something
only
about
winning
Princeton. It's like,
their first 2 games. Creighton only won by 9 each. One against NC State, who was an 11 seed, and then against Baylor, who was a 3 seed. So they're not crushing teams. They're battling. So I don't know. And then, like I said, Princeton crushed Missouri 78-63. So I just feel, and they beat number 2 Arizona by 4. So I think
yeah,
Princeton's got the upper edge. I think they're, but will the Cinderella story fall? I don't know. And then, so kind of going back to where I was talking about the FDU, it was awesome to see FDU beat Purdue, even though that's who I had on my bracket. In the second game, you had them play FAU, the Owls, and this is
those
cool.
damn owls.
The FAU, this is only their second appearance in the NCAA tournament. Their first time being in 1993. They did not win a game that year. So they've won their first 2 NCAA tournaments this year. One being against Memphis, which they only won by 1. It was a close game. But then they beat FDU 78-70. So kudos to them. Now they get to play Tennessee. We'll see how that turns out. But or not.
Well, no,
No,
they
they
already
just
beat Tennessee.
yes, they did
Yeah.
beat Tennessee. That's what I mean. They beat Tennessee. I meant Kansas State, which leads me into one of my favorite stories so far about the NCAA tournament is Kansas State. The Kansas State versus Michigan State game yesterday was just absolutely top tier, phenomenal game. You said you watched this game, right?
I watched this one, and then I watched the Gonzaga UCLA game right after it, which was fucking crazy. And like I don't really, for colleges, I don't really have a team, but I guess if I did have a team, it would be UCLA because that was always like kind of like the dream school that I always wanted to go to. I
It
like their
wouldn't be.
colors.
It wouldn't be UNLV. We're from Vegas.
No, I could have gotten into UNLV, but UCLA was,
I did get to go to UNLV. I got in and went.
yeah. And we're
Yeah,
doing a podcast together. So see,
well,
it amounted to nothing, Casino.
well, unfortunately, your UCLA got knocked out by Gonzaga. So,
Dude, did you see the end of this game?
The Gonzaga game?
Yeah, the Gonzaga UCLA game.
Yeah.
I don't know. This happens so much in NBA. This is one of the few times I've seen it in college football or in college basketball. When a team is down by 1 or 2, why the play design is set up for a 3-point shot. I will never understand it. I don't get it. It's like a difficult, a more difficult shot, obviously, than a 1 or 2 point. The shot the Gonzaga kid hit for the 3, like that was almost at the logo. Like, dear Lord, what a fucking brass ball shot.
That was an insane shot. That was crazy.
Ooh.
But no, I do agree with you. Whenever a team is down only 2 or 1, and all you need is just a bucket. Some try to go for the win when you're down 2. I get that, whatever. But force overtime. Go for the easy. Go drive the lane because they're going to try to stop. This is my mentality if I was a coach. They're going to try to stop you. They're going to do whatever they can to try to stop you driving the lane and scoring that bucket to tie it or win it if you're only down by 1.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, they're going to foul you for them. Like, they're going to foul you. Like, you're going to go hard. They're going to try to block you hard. If you don't hit it, you don't hit it. That's better than, though, trying to draw a foul than just hitting a 3, which is a harder shot percentage. Don't get it. Don't understand it. I'm with you on that.
The NBA, I don't understand it at all because most of these guys, like most of the guys on the court in the last 30 seconds of a game, they're like an 80% free throw shooter or better. In college basketball, like who fucking knows what your free throw percentage is going to be, but your mid-range game is got to be, pretty damn good to be on a team like Gonzaga or UCLA. So why the fuck are you why the fuck is your play design get it to our best player 5 feet beyond the 3-point line? Like, I mean, in this instance, it worked, but it's like, I don't fucking understand it. Like when he jacked up that shot, I was like, what are you doing? And then it fucking went in. So fuck
Well,
me.
they were
But
tied at that
yeah,
point, right?
yeah, they were 76,
Yeah.
76, and then it was like they had, I think it was 12 seconds left or something like that because
Yeah, good
UCLA.
defense. I mean, UCLA just didn't let them get
Well, I
down.
felt bad. I felt bad for that kid on UCLA who he was dribbling down there trying to create like
Yeah,
space and get a
the
shot, and then he
turnover.
got the ball stripped from him. Ooh,
Yeah, the
that's
turnover.
got to be that's got to
Oh
be
yeah,
rough.
no. He that ultimately lost him the game. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's bad. Um
Ugh.
so with that game out of the way though, oh, also Arkansas did beat Kansas number 1. That was not as a memorable game for me as this next one, which was last night, K-State, Michigan State.
Yeah,
Absolutely
that
great.
was a good game too.
Went to overtime. So there's two big stories coming out of this game that kind of highlight the whole tournament so far. Um, well, not the whole tournament, but Michigan State lost, and their coach Tom Izzo comes out and is basically he didn't basically he said the word. He said lucky. He called some of their shots lucky. He tried to give them credit to start. He was like, yeah, they made some tough shots, and they had a score when they did or something like that. I'm paraphrasing that part, but then he was like, yeah, some of those were luck, or he's like called him lucky, and he's taking a lot of heat for that, for going out and calling those few shots, 3-pointers lucky. What is your take on that? Do you agree with luck, or do you just like, hey, just play better?
Well, I don't know. It's always so weird. Again, the difference between professionals and college athletes, it's always so fucking weird when it's college coaches like calling out players on the other team because it's like, oh, what? Tom Izzo's got to be fucking in his late 60s at this point. Like,
Yeah, he's old.
so an almost 70-year-old man, like being like, these 18-year-olds on the other team, like, they got lucky, like, whatever. Like, it just always seems like, okay, grandpa, like,
Yeah,
let's calm down. Like, you lost, like, you've been here way more, like, just decade wise than these kids have been. Like, I don't know, maybe just give them their flowers. Like, it's not like, again, at the end of the press conference, you're obviously pissed because you lost the game, but it's also like nothing you say will change the outcome of the game. So why are you not just being like, great? I feel great for the Kansas State players. Like, you know, we'll get them next year,
and
like that kind of
and
thing.
I
Like,
totally agree. But you know what? I think that it wasn't lucky. They just played good. One player in
yeah. Well, that
particular,
was the
which we're
thing.
going to,
I don't even know what shots they're talking about. Well, like, show me the play where it was like that was a lucky shot. Like,
yeah,
ugh,
no, they just got outworked, and
yeah,
the main goes. There we go. Anyway, so was the Kansas State player who set an N double C or NC double C NCAA record last night for the most assists. I'm talking about Marquise. Don't bark, mailman just came. Marquise Noel had an amazing game, set an NCAA record with 19 assists, but he didn't just stop there. He did not just stop there. Um, my dog's about to go crazy. Rodney, get over here. Thank you. He had can you wait? He also had 20 points, which was great. He was 2 for 6 from behind the arc, 4 for 4 from the free throws, 3 rebounds, but he also had 5 steals. He had a game for the ages. Like, this is going to go down as one of the best games a single player in NCAA tournament has ever played. Um, Not only setting the assist record at 19, but he went 7 for 18, 20 points, 4 for 4 from
yeah.
the line. This 5 steals is outstanding. Offensive rebound, 2 defensive rebounds. The dude was absolutely phenomenal. Um, I They just got outworked. This guy crushed it, absolutely crushed it. And then I mean, coming off the really guy, you also had Johnson with 22 points, and I can never say his name right. Masood. I've been trying to follow Kansas State a little bit since their previous
You know,
game.
thank you.
Masood,
So,
but he came Masood, yeah, whatever. He came out. He had 15 points, 4 for 6 from behind the arc. So they had a good game. They just had a good game. Also, Kansas State had 5 turnovers. Michigan State had let's see, 13 turnovers. Like,
Yeah. Again, when you're
plus, you know
outplayed
what? Plus, like,
and
plus, plus Michigan State, um, they got to the line a shit ton. Uh, Kansas State fouled 24 times. I knew that Kansas State fouled a little bit more, but I didn't know that it was almost 10 more. It was 8 more fouls. Like, that's absolutely insane. And they did 18 for 22, good, but
yeah.
you're
So
given those. You better hit them.
when all the stats and all the things you need to win are in your favor, and then it's still a game that goes into OT, and then you win by what? It was oh shit, I
Oh yeah,
just
they
lost
they
that
they
game.
beat him. They beat him in literally every stat. The only one they didn't was
Yeah,
field goal percentage. Was Kansas State had a better field goal percentage, but Michigan State still had a 50% or 49% field goal percentage. K State, they just ended up having 56. Like, they just played a little bit better. You shot better from behind the arc, Michigan, but it was a close
yeah,
game. But the one thing that highlights the most outside of the fouls, which obviously didn't seem to be much of a factor, was the assists. He just crushed it, and the steals, the turnovers. Like that, it was
yeah.
such a great game.
Well, and you
Just don't turn over
still,
the
if
ball.
you're Kansas State, you still win the game by
Sorry.
5, and it's not like you won on a shot that was like the Kawhi Leonard, like 4 bounces on the rim and then goes in to win the game. It's like that's not how you
Yeah,
won by
I
dominating the other team.
got it.
So, who do you want to win the tournament right now?
Who do I? I'm trumping you. I'm going who I think is going to win the tournament. Who I think is going to win the tournament is going to be Alabama. They're just absolutely crushing teams. They're beating teams by 20 points. Their first 2 games, they look absolutely dominant. I would say either Alabama or, I know it's cliche to say the other number 1 seed, Houston, but Houston was number 1 for a good portion of this season in the overall rankings. So was Texas, but they going back and forth. I would either say Alabama or Houston, but I would have to pick Alabama.
Well, Alabama also has the best shooter in the league, right? Or no,
Yeah.
no. He
No,
loans his shot out.
what's up?
He loans his shot out.
There it is.
Alabama.
You're so stupid. I can't believe I fell for that.
And now, who do you want to win, Casino?
I hate
Because
you
I
right now.
agree with you. I mean, Houston, Alabama, they're clearly the 2 best teams left, but obviously we've seen upsets can happen. So who do you hope upsets them to win the tournament? Are you really going to pick Princeton right now?
Whoa, easy. You don't know me. I mean, would it be cool to see Princeton do it? Yes, because I would like the story of a 15 crushing and winning the NCAA tournament. Doubt that that's going to happen. I mean, they've looked good. They look good. Could I think they make the Final Four? Possibly. I really think they possibly could, because the teams that they beat, like I said, they beat Arizona. They did it in pretty good fashion, and then they stomped who was it? Missouri. I was about to say Memphis. And they stomped Missouri, but I think the team that I might actually want to win the whole thing is Kansas State. Not just because the
Ooh.
wonderful historic thing that they did last night. I thought that was cool. Obviously, also if FAU Owls did, that'd be neat. But those are a given. Those are given. Small school, 15 seed, Ivy League school. Everybody's going to cheer for that. But
Yeah.
Kansas State University. Reason why I don't like Kansas, right? Straight up Kansas University. Or yeah, I don't like Kansas. They're awful. But I have a fun tie with Kansas State University. Kind of going back to being shit-faced. The most top 3, probably number 1, the most shit-faced I've ever been at a UNLV Running Rebel basketball game was playing Kansas State University. It was when the rodeo was in town, so it was like the rodeo road trip is what we call it here. They were playing at the Orleans Arena. I don't remember the entire game. I remember getting to my seat, and then I remember the last 2 minutes of the game. And that is not a joke. 100% blacked out, because I thought it would be a smart idea to chug. Already after drinking at the bar beforehand, I chug 1.5 Four Locos, before going into the game, and I'm sure that somebody bought me a beer in there. I don't recall, but yeah, I gained 2, and I don't remember if we won that game or lost that game. Still to this day, I never looked it up because I think it's a fun story. So they just have a special place in my heart, and I think Kansas State University could do it. And because if they do make the final, I'm going to get completely blackout drunk in honor of them.
Wow. And you know what? You're going to get blackout drunk on the podcast. We should have a drunk episode. But I feel like we both would have to be drunk, but then how would
here's the thing. We've tried to do a drunk episode where we did one of the late night show. We actually have a clip of it, whichever episode that was, where the very ending, you decided to post like the last 5 minutes of our debacle.
That is true. Yes.
Yeah. I
forgot about
hammered.
that. We do have one of that.
I was completely hammered. Because I had done a minor drinking at work. We taste as we go. We have new things in and whatnot. So I wasn't going from 0 when I got home, but when I got home, I got into my liquor cart, and one thing led to another. And before we started the episode, and by the time we finished that episode, I was well done.
Yeah. It was great. Oh, no, wait. No, it wasn't, because we had to redo it. So
I just love the text or the message that you sent me, like either that night or the next day. You're like, there's no way we could do it. Your lighting is horrible. I was tired as shit, and you were plastered.
It looked like you were in a fucking, it looked like you were in like a Saw house, or, you just escaped something. I don't know.
It was fantastic.
But I agree with you when it comes to, I think Alabama or Houston obviously has the best shot to win it because they're number 1 seeds for a reason, blah, 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 blah. I would like to see my 3 teams, fuck Princeton, my 3 teams, I would like to see San Diego State because West Coast. Also West Coast, Gonzaga, right? Yeah. Those are my 2. And I really liked how they played last night. And then my underdog pick, I would like to see Florida Atlantic, even though they're playing your boys, Kansas State. So
that would be absolutely fun to see that, because, like I said, they hadn't won a single game in NCAA tournament. They had only one other appearance, and they're 2-0, 2-0, man.
But the games, and we're recording this about like 2 p.m. West Coast time. So we got San Diego State, Alabama tonight, Miami, Florida, Houston, Princeton, Creighton, Xavier, Texas. So all those, I think, are going to be pretty good games. I think Xavier, Texas is the one I have the least interest in, just because there's really nothing there for me. But the other 3, I feel like I have rooting interest for. What? I mean, I would like Florida. I would like Florida to beat Houston, San Diego State to beat Alabama, and then Princeton, Creighton. You get a good story out of either side. So yeah, let's move out of March Madness Casino to a little bit of NFL madness, which is
there's always NFL madness. Shit, dude, I don't know. You sent me the whole list. I guess you wrote it in order for a reason. Just start it. Just hit it.
So since the last week, free agency's kind of slowed down a little. It's crazy when I listened to last week's episode. The first 30 minutes of the episode, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. He went on Pat McAfee's show. He said Jets. Everybody's talking about Jets. It's been over a week at this point, or a week minimum, and literally no movement, no news from Packers.
No, I told you Jets, what's going to happen.
Like nothing.
No, I told you what's going to happen. The last episode, if you listened, I think it was last episode. I don't know. I know you never listened. Whatever. The Packers, they don't have to do anything until September. They're just going to sit on this shit. They're going to make Aaron Rodgers sweat it out. The only issue is, fingers crossed for them, like if you're playing this hardball with Rodgers, he would lose money if he did this, but if he retired. But I think he's greedy as hell. He doesn't want to retire. I think he wants to get that last little bit of money that he has coming to him. But so with that being the case, he's just got to split it out, and he's got to wait for the Packers to be like, yeah, okay, we'll finally make this trade. Because I really think that they have everything set. The Packers, to themselves, they haven't told the Jets this, that, yeah, I'm going to agree to this package. This is fine. They're just going to let it sit and marinate. And I can't love it enough. I love it, love it, love it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, again, we've had this rant. He did it so many years to so many people, not just the organization of the Green Bay, but you string them on, you try to have all the power. They have the power now. And if you screw somebody over so many times, they're going to screw you back. Lube up, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. The Jets did, however, trade one of their wide receivers, Elijah Moore, to the Browns for draft picks. And most people think it's to get more draft capital to then trade Aaron Rodgers. Before, we're about a month, I think we're almost exactly a month away from the draft. So the consensus right now is the Jets are kind of getting rid of the pieces they feel like they can get rid of to get more draft picks, so they can literally send every one of those draft picks, probably 2 first rounds, a bunch of seconds, thirds, to Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers. Probably, I'm going to say it happens because Aaron Rodgers is an egomaniac, right? We know this. So he is not going to want to share the headlines or spotlight or whatever with the NFL draft. I think he makes this decision. I'm calling it now, Casino. I think he gets traded to the Jets the week, so 7 to 3 days before the draft. Okay, so a week or up to 3 days before the draft. So all the news story is about him leading into the draft. I think that's when this move happens. Would I be
that's fair?
Would I put money on it? Yes. I'm that confident. I think that's when it happens. And yeah, but I think at this point it's a done deal with the Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. Last episode we did talk. You were much more hesitant to say switching to another quarterback that really there's been no news on except for this weird fucking story. But when it comes to Lamar Jackson, I said it was about like a 99% chance he never plays for the Ravens again. Now, and you said thought they would work it out and come back to the Ravens. Like it was like, I think you said 60-40. And now a week later, with all the like shit that's come out,
or he'd sit.
Yeah. Or he'd sit and we'd have a Deshaun Watson situation where he doesn't get traded for a year and a half. In that week period where it seems both sides have kind of like unofficially came out and been like, we're done with Lamar, and Lamar's like, we're done with the Ravens. Has your percentage changed? Do you think Lamar Jackson ever takes another snap in a Baltimore Ravens uniform?
Dude, I honestly don't know. I don't know what's going on. You have this Ken Francis dude coming out of absolutely nowhere, trying to like attempting to, as you said, literally word for word what you said, attempting to persuade the club personnel to enter into negotiations with Lamar Jackson. Like, who?
Yeah. And then Lamar Jackson.
I honestly just don't know anything now. It's just fascinating. I just want to sit back, buckle up, and just let this thing play out, because it is absolutely insane. Like, so,
yeah. And then like, Lamar Jackson then came out and said, this wasn't happening. He said, stop lying on Twitter. He said, stop lying. That man never tried to negotiate for me. Now, interestingly enough, then what is it? 2 hours after that, he posted another thing that said, my business partner, Ken, and I will be dropping the hash or at the entire gym this summer, which I guess is a thing he's like promoting. So it's weird to be like, Ken Francis, this Florida guy, he is trying to get teams, trying to negotiate on Lamar Jackson's behalf. And then Lamar Jackson's like, he's not trying to negotiate for me. And then 2 hours later is like, me and my buddy Ken are trying to sell this thing together. That just seems like a weird, like, so you do know this guy, you are working with him, but he's not talking to any teams. That just, again, just so everything coming out of the Lamar Jackson camp is just weird to me. It always just seems like it's slightly different than what it should be, right? Like no agent, weird guy. Like, I don't know. It's just, but him on Twitter, I mean, he is definitely worth a follow now because he is just dropping either really weird cryptic shit or like when a news story will break about him, he'll just immediately reply to it like, that's bullshit. That never happened, blah, blah, blah. So great time. Great. I love just getting news directly from NFL players. I wish that happened more often.
Let me set up the next two for you. Because these directly affect you. First, let's start off
as an Eagles fan.
Yes, as an Eagles fan, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson will not be playing with the Eagles. He'll be playing with the Lions. What do you think of this? What's your take on how this went down?
So the weirdest thing about this, and obviously as an Eagles fan, this has been one of, if not since the first Super Bowl year, where they won it, not like the first Super Bowl, but the summer of 2016 to 2017, there was like, I remember messaging you a lot being like, oh my God, the Eagles got this guy. The Eagles got this guy. Like they signed this guy. It was like one of those things where like every week they were signing like a new guy. It was like, I remember it being like LeGarrette Blount, and then they got Alshon Jeffrey, and it was like all these pieces that would end up like bringing home the Lombardi Trophy that season. But this season, obviously, they went to the Super Bowl, they lost, and this was the year where they had the big money invested in like all these players on like 1-year deals, right?
Yeah, they tried to do what the Rams did.
Yeah. And it almost paid off. If they could have got one fucking stop in the Super Bowl, it would have paid off. So they had a bunch of big name players who were big time contributors this season on 1 year, almost like prove it deals, right? And they lost now 2 big names they lost. And I think the other guys helped, like obviously like TJ Edwards, but he wasn't one of those guys where I was like, they need to sign him. 3 of the people I were like, they need to sign them were Darius Slay, which ironically we talked about on last episode where it was like, he's gone. I was sad, but I was also kind of like, he didn't look that good at the end of the season, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they just bring him back. And then it was like, oh, the news was wrong. They didn't release him. They just like restructured his contract. And now he's coming back for 3 years. I'm happy to have him back. I feel like 3 years is a long time, but we talked about this on last episode. If it's not guaranteed money, there's workarounds where you're not getting all that contract and blah, 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 blah. So happy for Darius Slay to come back, even though I think, is he still in his prime? I don't know. Because again, beginning of the season, he was fucking fire. He was shutting down Justin Jefferson. End of the season, he's getting burned deep by Kenny Golladay for a touchdown. So, I don't know. I'll hold judgment till next season. Then it was James Bradberry, which I was like, you got to re-sign James Bradberry. He was one of, if not the best corner all season, last season with the Eagles. The holding penalty aside, I don't put that on him, like blah, blah, blah. Everything besides that.
About that. That was inconsistency of the calling. That wasn't.
Yeah. I don't think he would have done that if he would have been called on holding in the first quarter, right? But we already did that. Go listen to our Super Bowl podcast, blah, blah, blah. Now, the 2 who I was like, we should re-sign them, but the market is not going to allow us to re-sign them, was Hargrave, who was the star defensive tackle for this line last season. Now, the only thing I was like, we're not getting him back. And we didn't. And then he went and signed with the 49ers, which I was like, That's kind of a slap in the face to Eagles, but they offered him the most money. They needed it, whatever. I never fault people for going where the money is. Now, here is the one that we're talking about, which is fucking weird because Chauncey Gardner Johnson was reportedly offered a 3-year, $24 million contract to stay with the Eagles. Okay. So he apparently, which is a good, again, for a position like safety, that's pretty, like, that's market value. That's like, you're not going to get a better deal than that. Case in point, he then feels disrespected by that offer. Apparently, allegedly, all on Twitter. He's kind of confirmed this with what he said afterwards. He thought he was worth more. So then he goes and signs with the Lions on a 1-year, $8 million prove it deal. But let's do the math real quick here, Casino. If you divide 3 years by 24 million, you get $8 million a year. So what?
Well, it's because he thinks that he can prove now exactly what you said, prove it year, that he can get more money after that. But I think this was a bad move. And it sounds like you do as well, where you had the guarantee. I mean, not the guarantee. You had the contract. You had the 8 a year for 3 years. That was yours. That was your contract to sign. You didn't take it. And you're going to fall off again. Maybe you don't. Maybe we'll have a Geno Smith situation. I don't know. Not saying that he was bad last year, but like you said, little worse off towards the end of the season. Maybe you just got tired, not as in shape. That happens with any athlete. That's why you take time off and then you start working out. So by the time the season starts, you're in your prime, and hopefully you can sustain for the whole season. That's how professional sports work. That's how any sports work. So can he sustain the entire time? I mean, question is, do you think they're going to be utilizing him as much? I think they do. I think they're going to have to, because that secondary is awful in Detroit.
Yeah.
They're trying to really boost that up. He is going to be looked at through a magnifying glass this season. Because at least with the other players on the Eagles, you didn't have to have the spotlight. They helped you out. You have the spotlight now. Good luck.
You're going to be one of the vocal points of a Detroit Lions defense that we talked about many times during the season was either 31st or 32nd, pretty much in every fucking category. So now I looked up who are the highest paid safeties, right? So you have Derwin James, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Jamal Adams as the 3 highest paid players. They are paid $19 million, $18.2 and $17.5 million a year. Now, again, those are for a Chargers team that hasn't had to really pay anybody yet, right? Because you have Austin Eckler being like, I'm being disrespected with how they're not giving me any fucking money, right? You still have Justin Herbert on a rookie contract. So let's see how much money the Chargers have to spend, when they sign Herbert to a $300 million contract, right? And then you have Jamal Adams on the Jets, where, again, let's see how much the Jets have to offer when they trade for Aaron Rodgers, and all of a sudden they're paying that guy, $40 million a year? So it's like, you look at all the highest paid safeties, they're all on teams right now where it's like nobody else, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is being
that's
paid
a hot take
money.
right there. I mean, that's research. That's research. That's data for you.
Well, there's obviously guys who were paid more than Chauncey Gardner, but then it's like, look at the teams they're on. Like, the Chargers got knocked out in the wild card round. The Steelers didn't make the playoffs. The Jets didn't make the playoffs. Next up is Jesse Bates and Harrison Smith, on the Vikings and Bengals. Neither of them got as far as the Eagles did. They're also AFC teams. So it's like, except for, Harrison Smith is on the Vikings, but the Vikings, we saw what happened to them. They got destroyed by the Giants. So it's like, this is the thing where it really, but I was just going to say, this is one of those things where it comes down to, do you want to win or do you want money? This is not the same thing because Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is getting paid the same amount of money to go to a worse team. So what? I don't get where the win is. Like, why would you not just take a prove it deal with the Eagles? Why would you not just stay with the Eagles on a 1-year, $8 million deal for if you wanted to do a prove it contract?
I mean,
Like,
in his defense, you lost coordinators, you're losing pieces left and right. That's not to change my feelings on that. That maybe that's what was going through his head. I mean, should he have
yeah,
stayed, in my opinion? Yeah. But because you're exactly what you said. It was the same money. It's the
yeah.
same money, but you want to prove it instead of a guaranteed contract where you're going to make money. And we'll see how this plays off. So continuing to talk about the Eagles, Mr. Cowboy, Ezekiel Elliott, Mr. Feed Me, still one of the worst tattoos I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of tattoos. Again, hasn't been relevant since that contract that he got before he got let go by Cowboys. He has not been relevant, but he's narrowed it down to I didn't do my research on this one. You did. You said Bengals, Jets, Eagles. So let me throw this out for you before I get my opinions. Bengals. Say he goes to the Bengals. Do you think it makes the team better? Doesn't do anything because they've already kind of got a running game? Or where do you think the Bengals would be if they do get him? Jets, which would be scary for my Patriots, just because that's just another player and the Patriots have trouble with run defense. Anyway, throwing that, but does he go play with Rodgers? Is the Rodgers contract going to be too much for him to go to the Jets? What's your take on that? And then also your Philadelphia Eagles. Do you think that's going to be too crowded of a backfield with all the players that you have currently? And if not, and say they get rid of one of the players that you already have in the backfield, which one would you like to see your team give up? And do you think Zeke would be better in that position than one of the other players?
So let me just first go. I don't think he would be good on the Bengals because the Bengals have Joe Mixon. They also don't have one of the better offensive lines in the league, right? That's been the issue with the Bengals is they have trouble protecting Joe Burrow. So
you said one of the worst.
One of the worst, yeah. So Ezekiel Elliott, we've already seen the Cowboys always have one of the top 5 to 10 offensive lines in the league. Yeah. So we've seen him. The Jets don't have a better line than the Cowboys. The Bengals don't have a better line than the Cowboys. We've seen him running behind one of the better offensive lines in the league, and he's gotten worse every single year for the past 4 years. There's scouts out there and there's Cowboy personnel who, are doing the anonymous leaks to the league sources and stuff like that, just being like, he has no burst left. He's gone. His legs are gone. Like it sucks to be a running back in the NFL because you have they say 4 years and then you just fall off a cliff, like production wise. We've seen it with him. Like everybody except Jerry Jones knew giving that second contract to Ezekiel Elliott was a mistake. And it was. Like we saw Tony Pollard emerge.
The last 3 years he's been better.
Yeah. And so I just think for the Bengals and the Jets, it doesn't make any sense at all. Now for the Eagles, my team, I've already seen what a Eagles running back who used to be a Cowboys running back look like with DeMarco Murray, because we got him for a year. He just kind of disappeared. And then by midseason, I believe he was on the bench. So do I want Ezekiel Elliott? Absolutely not. I think at this moment, Gainwell's better. I would take Boston Scott at the moment. Again, not at their peaks, but at the moment, I take Gainwell, I take Boston Scott, and then the Eagles have a top 10 draft pick. I'm on the Bijan Robinson running back from Texas. I'm on the hype train. I hope the Eagles draft him at 10. I don't think they will because the Eagles don't really draft skill position players. Devontae Smith was such a big addition because it was kind of like the outlier pick. Eagles build throughout the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. I really think both their first round draft picks are just going to be defensive line or offensive line players. But give me Bijan Robinson over Ezekiel Elliott. I don't want Zeke in an Eagles. I hope he gets a job, right? I'm not saying I hope he doesn't end up on a team, but I hope he doesn't end up on the Eagles because I don't want to see that stupid fucking feed me thing with the spoon. But yeah,
or his belly.
As far as where he does go, I really think he might go to the Bills. I think Bills would probably be the best fit.
That makes a lot of sense. They need a run game. I mean, whether he's good or not, and maybe going to that team would juice him back up, get him back out there. Well, I mean, he's probably already juicing. I don't know, whatever. Feed me.
Well, they also lost, if we remember, they lost Devin Singletary this offseason. So who even is going to be the Bills?
Yeah, they don't have it. That makes a lot of sense.
All right, Casino. Fair enough. I'm setting up you for the next story, which is you saw him when he was last. Actually, both of these quarterbacks you saw when they were in New England. Have you seen any of the Cam Newton? I called it buffoonery, where he is throwing at Auburn pro days and posting Instagram stories that he's better, that there's not 32 quarterbacks in the NFL better than him. You saw him in New England. Do you think there are 32 starting NFL quarterbacks better than Cam Newton right now?
Yes. All day, every day. And that's nothing. I mean, really, I'm not trying to be mean to Cam Newton at all. I'm not. And not just because his season was a little off. It's one of those things, you haven't played much recently. Yes, you had 1 year, the 1 year stint with New England. They didn't utilize you as well as they should have. However, though, like you're still underthrowing balls. You're getting picks. Your legs aren't what they used to be. Yes, you had a few rushing touchdowns, and I felt like the Patriots should have rushed him a little bit more because a lot of the games that they won, he had more rushing than he did passing. But when it comes to throwing, no, he's a worse Lamar Jackson. Where Lamar Jackson, he gets injured. He's got some running ability. He's got a decent arm, not the greatest arm, but he's got a good arm. Cam's below that. Where he doesn't even have a decent arm anymore. At least that 1 year that he was with the Patriots, he was underthrowing shit, wasn't good. And then his running wasn't what it used to be. He kind of had to have a wide open pocket for him to get anything. He's not cutting back and doing crazy things like Lamar typically does. So no, I don't think he is. There was a lot of quarterbacks in the league, and you say 32 quarterbacks, so it's not every starting quarterback, but you have some backups that I would take over him as well. So no, I wouldn't. I mean, would he make a good backup on a team that needs a good backup? Yeah, sure, fine, hire him. But no, I'm not going to make you a starting quarterback in the NFL when you haven't played. You've played a year in the last 4 years, something like that. Yeah.
No, I'm not. Well, that's also the thing. So I agree with you.
That's where I'm at with that. Like,
I don't know.
Shove it up your ass. But not to be, again, I'm not being mean to him, but to say that you're better than that and better than 32 quarterbacks in the league. No, fine. Are you a good backup right now? Yes, but you should have stayed in the league. You should have kept playing. And you could have been bouncing around during this whole last 2 years of the quarterback carousel. You might have had a starting job somewhere, but you don't.
But I feel like he's one of those players and quarterbacks who can't be a start or backup quarterback, right? Like he just doesn't have the mindset of a backup quarterback, which is good. Like you don't want your starting quarterback to have that mentality, but also I don't think he's still a starting quarterback. So to have that mentality of we're like, oh, well, I can't sit on the bench. And then it's like, all right, well, you're not starting. So you're either on the bench, you're not in the league.
What if you became a backup quarterback and he pulled one of those Alex Smith moves when he was playing for the Niners and he just went back on the field and they had two quarterbacks standing on the field? I could see that. I could see that happening. I could see him being petty enough to do that.
Also, it's one of those things where it's like, when you have guys in the league like a Brock Purdy, which is a 7th round quarterback who's a young guy who you just put in the right system and he flourished, why would you take a risk on a clearly past his prime Cam Newton, right?
Clearly.
Like you have younger guys, you have 4 quarterbacks who people think could start, on 4 teams right now coming out of this draft. So it's like every year you're getting a handful of guys who are 21, 22, 23 years old, where it's just like put them with the right coach and right system, and they can definitely be better than what we saw Cam Newton be in his last couple starts. Like, I don't think
let me
that's
ask you
debatable.
this. Right. Let me ask you this. Do you think that he has his one MVP trophy sitting in a trophy case in his room, and he just looks at it as he goes to bed every night?
Yeah.
Like
And then every
I could
time
be that.
before
I
he
could be
passes
that.
it, he
That's
just puts
me.
his hand on it.
Yeah, that's
And
me.
then just
I'm an MVP. I can jump back in this league. Yeah.
I
no.
mean, that one year where he was 15-1 with the Panthers was a great year, but
Oh my
again,
gosh.
it was an
Record.
outlier.
It was a season for the ages for that team, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. But again, he's never been the same since in that Super Bowl against the Broncos, he didn't die for that fumble.
Yeah.
Never been the
Literally,
same.
you took the words out of my mouth. If you weren't going to say it, I was going to say that. Yeah, his decline was like all of a sudden when his brain shut off when he didn't die for that football, when he didn't
Yeah.
die for that fumble.
It's like
the ball's there. I'm going to get hurt. Your quarterback. You got pads on. You'll be fine. You get CTE later down the road.
I've never seen like the consensus on a player flip 180 like I did when Cam Newton did not die for that football. It was like all of a sudden everybody was just like, oh, not a Cam Newton guy now. And it like got into his head, and then he's just never been the same since then. It's so fucking weird. It's so fucking weird.
But, so load me up with the other one.
Well, speaking of the Panthers, we are talking about before we dive to the last one, which is just funny. This one, Adam Thielen went to the Panthers. Significant move for the Panthers.
I think it's huge. I think it's great.
I do too. I like Thielen. I think
he needs to be. Go for it. I'll let you speak, and then I'll say my 2 cents on it.
No, I think with them losing more, right, to the Bears, like this is one of the teams where it's like they clearly need a wide receiver. I think they should still probably draft one in the 2nd or 3rd round. And then you have Thielen there, who has been a number 1 wide receiver in this league. Last year we saw him, or since Justin Jefferson came in the league, we've seen him be a pretty competent number 2. Like, he's still got some legs under him. He's still got some good years left.
Yeah, I 100% think that just the issue is not that he's fallen off a cliff or anything, because he was still making really good plays. It was Jefferson's just that much better. Yeah. He's just that much better. So I think Thielen going there and now being you walk in as the number 1 receiver with them having the pick they do and getting most likely the Bryce Young or whatever, like you're sitting good. I'm happy with what they've done. I think the Panthers have a big bounce back next year with what they've done in the offseason, and potentially still can through the draft and maybe even something before that. Like,
well, I'm telling you, with the NFC East, or with the NFC as wide open as it is, like I really like what the Panthers and the Lions division have been doing. Yeah,
especially that division. So I'm all for that. I like that those 2 teams we had talked about last season, they're right there on the brink. They're right there from being a playoff team and maybe even winning a playoff game. And they're making moves this offseason to do that. I really like that. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch.
I'm buying stock in Panthers and Lions next season. I'm buying stock. Yeah. All right, Casino. Now get your dancing shoes on, because new Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Jimmy G was offered a lifetime VIP membership to Larry Fint's Hustler Club, the strip club that is within walking distance to Allegiant Stadium. Yeah. My only question to you, Casino, how many times have you been to Larry Flint's Hustler Club? in Las Vegas in your life? 0. I've been there once.
I'm more of a Crazy Horse 3 kind of guy.
I don't think either of us are strip club guys, right?
No, I've been to Crazy Horse 3 twice. Once was with you guys where max bet $10 for a water that was this size.
Yeah.
And then we giggled and walked out because we were children. And then the other time was for a bachelor party, which I stayed like a half hour, felt very uncomfortable. I was with my wife, my current, I don't say current wife because I have only had one, with my wife at that time, and she was fine with me going. I was like, it doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good, wholesome. As I'm showing my ring. Yeah. No. No, but I've been there 0 times. But should he take this? 100%, buddy. This is lifetime. This is lifetime, buddy.
Especially if you're Jimmy, if you're a young, good-looking quarterback in like Las Vegas or whatever, like live it up. You're in the division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Nobody expects you to come in like higher than 3rd place in your own division. So live it up. You're going to play 10 games this season before you get hurt again, right? So with those 10 weeks or with the weeks you're definitely not playing, like just live it up. Go to Larry Flynt's Hustler Club. I've been there once. It looks like every strip club, for those who haven't been to it, it looks like every strip club in a movie that gets shot up, right? Like it looks
Fair
like
enough. It's like, a 2-story one too.
Yeah. And if you've seen one strip club, you've seen them all. It's just different colored lights. It's low lighting. It's strippers. I mean, Jimmy G have a ball. But
yeah, and you know what? And it's crazy. As of like, I'm pulling it up now because I know that he was dating a chick for a while, that Alexandra King lady that he met for a little bit. But as of January of this year, January 18th, Garoppolo claims that he is currently not involved in any relationship and allegedly single as of now. However, he has been rumored linked and linked with two women that he's been talking to, which is Alexandra King and Kyra Mia. So it sounds like he's just out there dating. Again, that was a January update. I couldn't find anything sooner on such quick thumb through. So to my knowledge, unless an article didn't pop up of something sooner or more relevant, yeah, you're single. Go. And you said it's walking distance. It is. It is walking distance, but Crazy Horse 3 is closer actually. But regardless.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know
Crazy Horse 3 is right off of Russell.
You know much more about the strip clubs in this town than I thought you would, Casino.
I used to work down the street from that spot.
So, Casino, is there any news in the NHL before we get into the NBA and get out of here?
Yeah, there's a bit. I'm not going to go too hard into it. I'll get into next week because next week there'll be like 6 games left in the NHL before the playoffs. I'll really hit that hard next week. I'll do a lot of writing up on that. Kind of just the main thing coming out is you have the Pride Night going on and scheduled for a lot of the teams. I know we talked about this earlier in the season about one of the teams. I forget which team it was. The Flyers, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the one player from Russia not wanting to wear Pride jerseys, just not going out of the locker room.
Yeah.
Well, more players and more teams. Some have not canceled Pride nights. To my knowledge, I haven't read any of that, but they have players that aren't getting involved. So this has actually been a big talking point, as you could probably guess. Players not coming out for warm-ups in their Pride gear. A lot of the reasons, if you think about NHL, is not like the NFL or the NHL or baseball, where a lot of the players are from the U.S. Other players are from other parts of the country or other parts of the world. So like there's a 5%, like around 5 Russian demographic. And a lot of people are trying to push the whole Putin thing. Well, they've got a little bit of ground to stand on that is they're not wanting to do it because apparently Putin's law against the LGBT bleh, the I get that tongue tied. Can you say it from
LGBTQ
Q?
plus
No, you got it
community.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I I know it. I just can't say it. I get tongue tied every time. So he put out laws in Russia that like anybody that's not just like part of that community but promoting that, it's against the law. So these players that are done, say the NHL, and they go back, they're being watched. Apparently, is what a couple players have brought
Hmm.
up. So they're doing this on a safety standpoint. So you got to be okay with it there, whether they agree with it or not.
Well, this is also
They
what.
publicly can't get out and say it. They can't
Yeah.
publicly go out and say anything. A lot of the players are scared from this. That are it's like the Russian players or other players who don't go against their country's religious beliefs. And again, there's a massive, massive demographic that play for the NHL that are not American born or from
Yeah.
America or plan on staying here after their hockey career. They're out here on basically a work situation. So you have that going on. Like uh the Stahl brothers, this is the other flip side, who play for the Panthers, the Florida Panthers. They're saying they have no judgment. This whole quote is after many thoughts and prayers and discussions, we have chosen not to wear our pride jersey tonight. We carry not both judgment. We carry no judgment on how people choose to live their lives and believe that all people should be welcome in the aspects of the game of hockey. Having said that, we feel that by us wearing a pride jersey, it goes against our Christian beliefs. We hope you respect our statement. We will not be speaking any further on this, and we just hope to have help the Panthers win a cup. So players' religious beliefs are coming out on this. Players' safety from other country laws that they live in are coming out about this. So it's a very touchy subject, but I feel like this has just been a very big talking point in the NHL. Started the beginning of the year, and now it's really getting prevalent as more Pride Nights are coming out. But just kind of want to throw that out there
Well,
for those who
my
may
whole
have been
take
hearing
on
about
this,
this.
my whole take on this kind of thing is like when it comes to like breast cancer awareness and LGBTQ like I don't know if it's even like awareness or support or whatever the fuck it is. It's like people need to realize all these are by major companies like this. All it is a means to make money. Like people act like it's like, oh, well, the NHL like supporting gay. It's like, no, they aren't. They're
Right.
just doing this so they can sell another kind of jersey. And so they can have groups and organizations be like, we should give money to the NHL because they support us. Like, I always hate like this kind of shit when it comes from like major corporations where it's like,
Right.
every fucking the second it becomes Pride Month, it's like companies change their logo to rainbow flags. 1201 of it not being Pride Month, it just goes right back. It's all like bullshit philanthropistic practices of just being like, hey, guess what, gay people will buy our products, so we have to for a month be like, we love gay people, and then for 11 months never mention it again. Like it's
Right.
like all so fucking just like theater of the consumeristic practices of like the culture we live in. It's all fucking bullshit. I support gay people. I don't give a single flying fuck if NHL players wear pride jerseys. Like that doesn't change my mind on gay people or the NHL. Like
Right.
who
I
gives
and I
a
agree with
fuck?
that. I agree with that. I'm in the same boat as as you. And so this is a great one. So for like again, I just to kind of reiterate on a lot of people have been trying to bring this to like a Russian thing where most the players from Russia just don't want to they don't believe in it. It's like, no, they're actually scared for their lives, whether they believe in it or not. So Ben Noble, he's a associate professor of Russian politics at the University College of London, told The Athletic, he goes, these are legitimate fears. If we put on a pride jersey, then there is uncertainty regarding how this would be interpreted by law enforcement in Russia, and that's a risk. And so and people don't know, the authorities of Russia, so he says the authorities have the power to enforce this and other legislative selectively. It's up to them to decide whom they go after. It's their call. It's their decision on how they. We saw it with how it worked with Brittany Griner. You know,
Yep.
like they're gonna say what they want. They're gonna make things up as it goes, and because it's up to their decision is how their justice system and their law works over there. So, for people, just Russia specifically, these players are worried about it because say they do wear it, you don't know how that's going to be taken by law enforcement when you go back home after your NHL career is over because they may put you on a list. Who knows?
Well, it's also just like
so that's been a big talking point, but yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. And again, next week I will go hard into individual teams, players, stats, where we're at, what those matchups look like, and get into my predictions next week.
Well, the last little button on that is just like, yeah, if we need to stop, and by we, I mean like Americans need to stop viewing the world through the American scope, which is not applicable in almost any other country. So it's just like if foreign players are like, hey, I don't want to wear this kind of jersey because that could potentially cause problems for me. Your response should not be like, oh, you're a bigoted asshole. Your response should be like, that makes fucking sense. Why do I give a shit if NHL player number 133 doesn't want to wear a pride jersey? Like, who gives a flying
because it
fuck?
might get his family killed in another country.
Well, and then it's just like other people being like, it's my religious beliefs. Like, okay, like I don't get what that has to do with playing hockey or playing really any sport and like wearing a rainbow jersey. Like again, these like melding of different cultural things. It's like I just want to watch hockey and I don't give a flying fuck who, as long as they're not like gay people shouldn't exist and I want them all dead. Like, as long as they're not saying shit like that, like
nobody said that.
And
even the ones that like obviously the ones who, scared of law enforcement in other countries and yada yada, but like those with the religious beliefs, he's like, they can do what they want. But like for my personal beliefs, this is my reason I'm not gonna do it. But I just wanted to touch on that a little bit because I know we talked about it in a previous episode, the beginning of the season. It's just escalated a little bit more. And again, I just want to watch hockey as well. And
it's just sports.
People aren't watching those.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, people just won't watch the hockey. Like anyway, and it's because what you're saying is corporations, they're just pushing it. They don't really give a shit. They're just pushing it so they can sell another jersey and they can be inclusive. Which is, I mean, in reality, which would be a great thing, but the whole shoving it down your mouth because have to be, or because we care. They don't care. Corporations just care about money. We've talked about this. Corporations care about money. They don't really care.
It'd be great if it wasn't so transparent to what they're actually doing, because again, it's only a big deal around certain times, and then it's like never mentioned again. If it wasn't so transparent for that, then nobody would have an issue with it, or it would be a thing. But let's get into, speaking, NHL is almost ending. Well, so is the NBA. The season ends basically the weekend of April, like 7th through the 9th. So we got next week's episode and then the weekend after. So I'm not going to go big into NBA because obviously we're running out of time. The one thing I do, however, want to talk about in the NBA is the East at the moment. The West, I really thought there would be more teams making a bid for that number one spot from the Nuggets, but looks like the Nuggets are going to hang on to the number one seed unless something crazy happens, which I don't think it will, because the closest team to them are still 3.5 games back with, I think there is.
The big question is, can they do it into the playoffs?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
They're looking good. They're looking strong.
Yeah. So there's like 11 games left, around 11 games for most teams. But what I want to talk about, and what we will talk about before we get out of here today, last topic, is the East, however, is heating up with the Bucks right now on top, 52-20, Celtics 50-23rd, and then Casino, my Philadelphia 76ers, third place with 49-23 record. They are 3 back from the number 1 seed, only a half a game back from the Celtics. This is, that meme where it's the porn star making the face and then it says, "Oh my God, you're going to make me." And then people put in the words. Right now, that word for me would be
one of my favorite gifs. Or favorite memes.
Because in the last 10 games, the Bucks are 7-3. Obviously, I still think the Bucks are the best team, probably in the whole NBA right now, definitely in the East. The Celtics, however, 5-5 in their last 10. The 76ers, 9-1. So the Sixers have been on fire recently. Now, the competition has not been really anything to write home about in those 10 games. However, their final 11 will be a true test to see how good the Sixers actually are. Their next 11: Warriors, Suns, Nuggets, Mavericks, Raptors, Bucks, Celtics, Heat, Hawks, Nets. So the next
there was 2 games in there. There was the Raptors and the Hawks.
Yeah.
Besides those two, everybody else is crushing it.
Well, and then there's that span where on a Sunday they play the Bucks, on a Tuesday they play the Celtics, and then on a Thursday they play the Heat. And that's just on the East. On the West side of their schedule, the next 3 games are Warriors today, then Suns tomorrow, and then Monday Nuggets. So you have 3 games in a 4-game span right there where you're playing 3 of the best teams in the West, not record wise, but probably like can beat any team any night wise. So yeah, I'm irrationally hopeful of the Sixers at the moment. Again, 3 games back. But yeah, the real test, and we'll talk about how well they did next episode against, tonight Warriors, then Suns, then Nuggets. But yeah, Casino, both our children are making it, so we have to end this podcast a little sooner than we would like. But we will be back next week to obviously talk about all the March Madness fallout, the NHL and NBA seasons getting closer and closer to the playoffs. That was a loud dog bark. And on that note, this has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Adios.